cleaning fees like might go down if the compensation might go down.
Yeah.
Yeah. We're like less than 48 hours away from this thing. We're like could be I don't think it's I think Uber's going to stay in California. I think there's a good chance that I hope Prop 22 fails. I think it's going to pass. I think they don't need the driver's vote, and it comes down to passengers. They use this not for the morality of it. They use it because it's cheap. Like they shop at Walmart. It's because it's cheap. Right. And it's like all they have to say to the pitch to the passengers is say like, you want it to keep being cheap? Then
yeah. Well, let's just look at one little. This wasn't planned entirely, but I do think it's just in case there's anyone out there who might be afraid of not voting just because they think they've already lost the battle. No. Every vote is still very important, and this is why. From Eater, despite massive ad spending by tech companies, California's Prop 22 might not win. How? Now, here's what the article says. It's official. Proposition 22, the measure proposed by a consortium of tech companies, including DoorDash, Uber, Postmates, and Instacart, is the most expensive ballot race in California history. Yeah. So far, the ride, hail, and food delivery companies have poured nearly $200 million into their campaign to deny drivers and delivery workers employee protections and to instead continue to classify them as independent contractors. The funny thing is, this was 3 days ago, and that's already outdated. It's closer to 250 now. Despite massive expenditure, recent polling suggests that the race remains a close one. According to a poll released on October 26 from UC Berkeley's Institute of Governmental Studies, 42% of likely voters oppose Proposition 22, 46% of voters approve it, and 12%, just 12% remain undecided.
Okay, it could get a pretty close.
Yeah, so for the measure to pass, it must win by a 50% +1 margin, which is likely why in recent days, Californians have been deluged with ads in support of the bill. This correspondent can recite the "as a mom of 4, I can't work a full-time job" commercial from memory. It's true. According to the Wall Street Journal, the Yes on Prop 22 campaign is on track to spend more than $82 million on television and radio ads by November 3rd. Other expenditures include a $2 million donation to California's Republican Party, as well as smaller but still notable donations to Republican parties in Ventura County and Santa Clara County. You see, the funny thing is, like, I'm actually registered as Republican, and I disagree. I'm not for Prop 22, so yeah. I am definitely a centrist. Here's a tweet. In contrast, the workers and labor groups that oppose Prop 22 have raised about $19 million in total. Now, that's interesting. That kind of goes to show how people really feel about this, because common sense says that, well, that $19 million can't compare to the $200 million. And yet the fact that it's that close, that's interesting. Yeah. $11 million of which will go to advertising. That said, the measure's opponents don't expect to keep up. Speaking with the Wall Street Journal, Steve Smith, a spokesman for the California Labor Federation and the No on 22 campaign, says just the sheer volume of messaging Prop 22 supporters are able to get through television is unlike anything I've ever seen. That final advertising sprint makes sense. According to pollster Mark DiCamillo, which also oversaw Berkeley's September poll on the measure, the relatively large proportions of undecided voters in both polls suggest that many voters were having a difficult time reaching a final decision on this initiative. How these late deciding voters ultimately come to judgment will likely determine its fate. Yeah. Assuming that you remain undecided, there are several nonpartisan sources you can use to make up your mind. And I'm just going to say I am voting against it. And according to their poll, after almost 1,900 votes, 63% said they are voting against it, 33% said they're voting for it, and 3 are not decided yet. Well, if any of you 3 are watching this video, I encourage you to vote no, and I think you encourage them to vote no.
Yeah.
So there you go. So anyway, that's kind of humbling a little bit if you stop and think about it, because again, they've way overspent on this thing. They have done everything they could to get it passed. They've been bugging you with the in-app notifications.
Oh my gosh.
They've had
that's
yeah,
they're
that's like a whole nother story. They've had the drunk, the Mothers Against Drunk Drivers come out in support of it, even though, with all due respect to the mothers of drunk driving, you know, I don't know if a tired and barely awake driver driving home a drunk driver is a whole lot better than a drunk driver. So despite all of this, though, it's really super close. So if you haven't voted yet and you're undecided, hopefully this will be your edge. And keep an eye on this channel. Subscribe if you must, because on the next couple days I will be posting additional videos on moral arguments on why you should probably vote no on Prop 22. I don't know. What do you think about the polls being this close?
That's closer than the presidential election on this. It's like, but
and remember, there's like a 12% margin of error for all these polls.
Yeah, Uber's got to be sweating right now.
They've got to be sweating.
Yeah,
especially since
sweat every once in a while.
Because you know that if this doesn't pass, then they have to like press a button and make those changes, or they have to shut down the service. And
that's why they're spending $200 million, $2 billion on the cost of this program. You know, losing that. It's like they don't want anyone to work for independent contractors or employees. They don't want any. They're trying. They are actively trying on technology to replace like any driver on the road. It doesn't matter if they're employees or independent contractors. All their goal is to get to that future monopoly on self-driving cars.
Right. And there needs to be a monopoly on self-driving cars for self-driving cars to even be functional, which some people don't realize, because it's like, well, look, let's say Tesla gets to the market first.
Yeah.
And then a year later, Google comes around. Like, do you think Google's going to use Tesla's software in their cars? Probably not. But if these cars aren't talking to each other, the whole safety aspect of a self-driving car is totally, totally nullified. Although that's like another topic. And, you know, I'm going to actually separate this into its own separate video tomorrow. So the question I have for everyone who's watching this, what do you think? Are you surprised that the polls are that close? Are you going to be voting yes or no? I actually have quite a mixture of people voting on that. Comment below, like, favorite, share, subscribe, and as always, flame responsibly.
And